What's wrong with you people?
Welcome to Not Another Baptist Podcast. My name is Matt Hensley from the soggy city of Irving, Texas, who has had about 1,000,000 inches of rain over the last few days, joined by a man wearing the 2023 World Series Champions hat of the Texas Rangers. Kyle, non-alcoholic beerman, rural specialist with the North American Mission Board. Kyle, do you know
That's right.
that it is a miracle that yours truly is alive right now?
Well, there's probably a few times in your life that's been true.
It's true. There's one time that I drowned. Yeah.
But yeah, that's true. But explain to our listeners why it's a miracle this time that you were alive.
We had what I think has now been every year. Have you noticed that every year there's like a new meteorologist term that gets thrown around?
Yeah.
I don't know. Like there's just always these different terms that get thrown around. The last time I got a new word that may not be new at all, but the first time I heard it was recently with the derecho winds. Did you hear that word, the derecho?
I did hear that.
Was that the first for you? Was that the first time you heard it?
Yeah, I don't recall hearing that before.
Anyway, recently there was a Houston Astros game that they still played when there was like 100-mile-per-hour winds outside, blowing water and everything into their indoor field.
Saw that.
It was phenomenal. Anyway, we got the same thing. And I had just finished my run, and I'm sitting out on the back porch hanging out, and I'm like, it's a little breezy. Oh, it's a little windy. Oh, that's a tornado. And it wasn't a tornado. It was just 91-mile-per-hour straight line winds that
Yikes.
half of my tree into my pool. Now,
That's unfortunate.
I jumped into my pool shortly thereafter to begin to pull out that tree from the wonderful water.
Was this while the storm was still raging? Or did you
No,
get
the
into the
storm was,
pool?
it was not raging, but it was still storming. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's not wise, especially if there's lightning and you're, in water and whatnot.
I don't have any metal on. Anyway, I jumped in. Here's where it gets good.
Hashtag
I'm
science.
in there. I'm in the water, and I'm starting pulling all of this stuff out, and that's when I see it. An exposed wire from all of our lights that had then been yanked from the other side of the fence that it was attached to. And so all this exposed wire in our pool, and I'm just hanging around. You know what was really good news, Kyle?
What's that, Matt?
Minutes before I jumped in, the power went out.
Oh, okay.
Bro,
All right.
I think
That explains a lot because I had a lot of questions about what was
minutes from maybe being pretty buzzed.
That's one way to put it. You were minutes away from having seen Jesus is what you were about to.
That's what it sounds like. It was kind of surreal when I'm like, oh, this is not ideal. Anyway.
Not ideal. No.
Well, you know what's not ideal either?
What's that? I want to see this segue.
About your students.
Oh, there you go.
So recently
correct.
on my research, Kyle Cravens wrote an article about 7 ways to support your group when they're at camp. Let's talk about this. There are 7 ways. Number 1, be present.
Yeah.
That's a fancy way of saying if you can go.
Yep.
Right? Even if it's just for a couple of hours, for a day.
Yeah.
But yeah, see if you can go. And if not, Kyle, what are some ways that maybe you could be present?
Yeah, I mean, we have technologies, right? Like Zoom and FaceTime, and we've gotten pretty good at using those in the last 4 years or so. So at the very least, you could Zoom in maybe to one of your church group's times at night. But yeah, if you can at all go for any length of time throughout camp, do that. Obviously, that's easier. If your church is going 5 or 6 hours away to youth camp, that's a little bit more difficult probably than if it's an hour where you can drop in for the afternoon or so. But I think the point is be as present as you possibly can during your students and children's camps throughout the summer.
Yeah. Hey, go get them riled up, have some fun, jump in and find out maybe when the game times are, especially if you're the pastor, go there, instead of just going and obviously sitting through worship and so forth with them would be phenomenal. But where you can have some interaction where maybe you're throwing, the water balloons, you're throwing paint, whatever it might be, the games, like get involved in that. So maybe talk to the student pastor, say, hey, when can I come that would have the most effectiveness and be out of the way, that kind of thing. Number dos, pray for them. Pray for your students and the adults by name. Fun fact, except for the student pastor, those that go as volunteers, it might be vacation time, but it is not vacation. And obviously it's part of the job for the student guy, and it's not vacation for him either. But a lot of your guys that are going there to volunteer have given up a week of vacation to do so. Pray for them, but pray certainly for the students that are there as they hear the good news of Jesus. Maybe there's some lost students that are going and as friends of some of your guys. Pray for them by name, or maybe some of the hard situations they're dealing with, being called to ministry, things happening at home, whatever it might be. What else should you pray for, Kyle?
Pray for a distraction-free week. Pray for safety. Pray that the Lord would speak to the students, and I would even go so far as to say, if you can, have the congregation write prayer notes to them that are either delivered during camp or maybe sent with the student pastor to give out during the week at some point to the students to let them know that, hey, the church back home is praying for you.
Yep. Number tres, send encouragement. This might be similar to what Kyle just said. Write a personal note of encouragement, Kyle says, to each student and adult attending, and give it to them before they leave. I know some student pastors, even those that are going with them, write a letter maybe the week or so before the trip, and they hand it to them as they get to the trip, and then ask them, don't open this until you're coming home from the trip. And maybe it's a list of things that they're praying for them while they're gone, whatever it might be, just some words of encouragement. But send some encouragement along with them. If you're a mama or a daddy, maybe send some of their favorite snacks or whatever, but also share what you're hoping they get out of it. And then number 4, study along with them. This really goes with it. Certainly send something to them, some encouragement, whatever it might be, send that. But there's also a way for you to participate even when you're maybe 3, 4, 8 hours away. If you know what the text is that they're going to be studying or the themes that they're going to be hearing at camp, hey, study along with them. Think about what they'd be covering that day and study through that text and pray specifically through that text, that kind of thing, because then they get home, you can also ask them about that particular text, maybe what you were learning from it as you were studying from your home, and then hear what they learned from it as they were hearing it in their uncaffeinated glory or over-caffeinated glory. What else?
And I would say if you lead any kind of like a midweek Bible study or something like that, maybe take your adults through the same text that your students are studying that week, and that would give you the opportunity to have your church or that particular Bible study group pray for the students as they're gone. If you can incorporate that passage into your sermon schedule for that week, whether that's having the youth pastor preach or youth minister share when they come back, that may or may not work depending on the situation. Hey, I know you just had the busiest the busiest week of your year. Would you like to preach on Sunday morning? But if you can incorporate that, like the theme text into your message, and give your congregation the chance to kind of study along with where the students are that week as well. It'll be, again, this helps connect your church to the ministries that are happening, right?
More often than not, and I would say it's a good thing when it's not, but more often than not, the students that are going to be there are not going to have their phones, and hopefully not. That's always an encouragement that we made, is you put them away, or you gave them to me until, at a certain time, whatever it might be. But usually your adults are going to have them because of emergencies and whatever, and hopefully they're not sitting on them and setting a bad example. Nevertheless, you can also send a note in the morning, hey, praying for you as you begin day 2. Praying for you as I know you're tired by now, up late, a couple of days, praying for you, it's hot, whatever. Send some encouraging texts or messages or whatever to your student ministers and your adults that are there volunteering with them. Maybe send them a treat when they leave or something. Just whatever it might be, think of some ways that you can support them. And that leads to number 6, like, hey, be available. I think this is to some degree maybe going to be connected to number 1, where you can come, that kind of thing. But also just be ready when the student pastor calls, maybe with a significant issue, that you may need to drop everything and go and pick up a kid, or help intervene in something, or be there for counseling, something that would be a little bit of a heavier situation. But be involved and available even from the sidelines. Don't just, they're out of sight, out of mind. Be available when they need it. And then what's the last one, Kyle? Number 7.
Number 7 is invite others in your church to participate, right? So every camp needs volunteers. But beyond even going, there's some other ways that your church could be involved, and that could be a senior adult class, preparing and sending care packages. Again, goes back to the encouraging notes, the snacks, all those things. And if you can do this for your children's ministry, for your youth ministry, for other things that happen throughout the summer, you help create those connections, and eliminate the ministry silos that can so often tend to pop up.
Well, camp is a wonderful ministry, and we know that it is beginning right now. In fact, next week we got our Vacation Bible School here at Plymouth Park. And then that Friday, our girls are going to be going to Mayhill, New Mexico, to go to camp back at Civil. You remember that place?
Yeah, remember it well.
So we're going to send them there to be with Mayhill kiddos and students, kind of their last hurrah there, and looking forward to that. And I know that's happening all over the country. And so we encourage you, certainly many of the people listening to this are pastors. So pastor, this isn't just a chance to get the youth pastor out of your hair for a little while. Look for ways to come alongside of him and during this time, and encourage, be a part of it, pray for him. Church member, look for ways that you can bless them as well. Send some goodie bags, whatever it might be, send some notes. Let's really pray for God to move in and through these camps. And until next time, may your coffee be as black as night and as bold as jumping into a pool when there is exposed wire inside of it.
That's bold.
What's wrong with you people?